Trends that fell off in 2023. With the internet being a ringleader of trends in our current time, I wanted to go over some trends that got elevated, chewed up, and spit out over the past couple of years. Disclaimer, this isn't at all to bash any of these brands or items because personally, I don't think that trends dictate your personal taste or style. But I want to hop right into the first one, and it is going to be balaclavas. Now, due to the circumstances that we were in 2020, I think these was a hit for obvious reasons. And I still think that they can be in certain variations, but as a trend, these have kind of taken a tumble. We used to see it often as fashionable with like dang near every other scroll. You would see somebody wearing a balaclava, whether it was Kanye, whether it was Pooh Shiesty, whether it was Cardi, in your favorite fashion shows, the list goes on. But now, I ain't gonna lie, honestly, we just see it on our local corner. You know that one dude that be standing outside the store with the Nike tech on and the Shiesty, like, come on, bro. The next one that I got is skeleton print. This was something that I consistently seen on TikTok and low-key used to be like the I'm starting a clothing brand starter kit, but I definitely think it has died as far as a trend. It used to make a lot of sense as a layer or a patch on top of things like denim and jackets as well, but I don't see that nearly as much. That version I will say was the coolest, but the other one that just kind of was like a screen print or like rhinestones or something like that, I don't see it no more, bro. Next up, we got Dunks and Jordan 1s. The oversaturation of these is really what put the nail in the coffin for these models, along with their bootleg. They really was one of them things that got carried all the way to the top of the mountain and got pushed off the ledge by the very people that brought it there. This is probably gonna be one of the best examples of items being too hot for their own good. Cause once you start seeing replicas or fast fashion versions of something at a pace like this, it usually is the recipe of a hard fall as a trend. Next up, we got Chrome Hearts clothing, and I say clothing because the jewelry was never a trend, if we be honest. But I think though in general, this one is a little less of a hard falling trend simply based off of its low accessibility. I know everyone likes to mock the Chrome Hearts trucker, the hoodie, and the pants, but there was so many dupes flying around that I almost don't knock anybody who had the real thing. Well, maybe I'll knock some of the people that had the trucker hat because y'all took that one a little bit too far. But if you got real deal Chrome Hearts, you still lit, I ain't gonna lie. Next up is one that I kind of was just personally thinking about. It really was like an older trend, but I want to talk about Cuban chokers. This is one that was a massive trend, especially more in the years of like 2017 and like 2019. When I was making this list, I was scrolling through old photos and I couldn't help but to put this in there. I think this ended up getting replaced with different link types because I'm specifically talking about the Cuban link joints, and people used to like pair it with like the slightly longer one with like a pendant or something like that. But I still think we see shorter chains as a trend. We just don't really see it as a Cuban link. We'll usually see it as like a different type of link or even like pearls or beads. Next up on the list, we got a brand, and that brand is Supreme. So if you've been watching this video, I'm sure you saw this coming sooner or later down the video. But good old Supreme, man. We all remember the good old days of Supreme, or maybe the not so good hype beastie days. But Supreme was such a staple in the lives of those who were into streetwear and skateboarding at the same time. It just happened to be one of those things that like skyrocketed like out of nowhere. I think this is just another one of those examples of something that is too oversaturated and hype for its own good and was almost destined to have like a heavy downfall when it comes to a trend. I do though refuse to put Supreme in the dead category as a whole though. I think they continue to make great items whether they're overhyped or not. Honestly, for those who are actual fans of the clothing, I think that this is the best way for this to be, because now you actually can go buy something without worrying about all the bots and reseller BS. Next up on the list is New Balance 550s, and I don't really have much to say about this one other than I blame TikTok. I also kind of think that this was an experiment for New Balance that ended up hitting a lot harder than they thought it would, and then they used it as like a money grab with collaborations in different colorways, and I think they kind of just dug their own grave with this one. But next on the list, we got Yeezy 350s, and I think these kind of lived in a time frame where that whole like knit upper and like comfortable bottom was a huge thing, and I don't think that it just is anymore. But I decided to include them on the list because I think with everything going on with Adidas and Kanye, they will have an even harder fall. Getting towards the end here, we have a few more shoes, and Vans Old School happened to make the list. Now these were in every single Instagram pic like a few years ago, which is crazy, even being worn by some of the biggest celebrities to show how to make something that was so accessible, cool, and popular in culture. I don't think they ever were like excluded from culture, but I think with like the whole designer and hierarchy of like classism, I think people really just didn't really look at Vans like that until higher up people started putting them on and was like, hey, these are just as cool as like the designer shoes. But about a year after that wave, they've been super quiet in the streets. I have seen that like chunky version they made recently, but Vans as a whole, I don't really see as like the cool fit pick thing anymore. Now next up, we got the summer staple that I think is the summer staple, but might not be everyone's summer staple anymore, and that's Suey Cokes. Now I still back these to this day just because I'm a huge fan of Suey Cokes, and I still wear them every single day as like my go-to slide. But I think as a trend, it has fallen off. It had such a huge summer surge. I want to say in like, maybe this was like 2018, but I think that there are so many variations of sandals now that their originality got shelved along with the other like styles of sandals put alongside them. Now last on the list, I added the Dior B23s. Now these were added to the list at the very end as a random thought. I was actually trying to think of some of the biggest brands and their most trendy items, and I remember everyone going crazy for these. Like I even know people who personally have them, and now like they are nowhere to be found. Like, I mean, I also haven't really stepped into a Dior store as of recent, but like it's almost like they don't even get sold or even exist anymore, which is crazy. But that concludes my list of trends that fell off in 2023. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, if I was accurate or if I was not, or even if I left some things out that should be on the list. So make sure you do that. Subscribe if you are new, and I'll be back to you guys for more. Man, peace.